What's up, YouTube? We're sitting at 8 weeks and 5 days left to Texas Classic. Gone through this workout before. There's some slight modifications that I have changed to this leg day, but it's gonna be fairly similar as far as what you've already seen before. But today, we're gonna focus on regulating stress throughout a prep. What things can we do to manage stress as we get deeper into a prep? Because you can't just continuously bury yourself for an entire program and expect things to turn out good at the end. But how do we manage that stress without completely derailing progress? That's what we're gonna touch on today. I was doing seated leg curls to kick off this session, but as I start to get leaner, what I've noticed is I start to get some kind of pulling on the inside of my thigh, and it causes more pain than it does benefit. So I've switched over to this standing leg curl, a standing leg curl and a lying leg curl. If I put this on its side, it's gonna be the exact same thing as a lying leg curl. But doing a single leg here, I'm able to get a really good contraction on both sides, focus on the hamstring really well. Today is mostly quad focus anyway, so I'm not super worried about a crazy ton of hamstring stimulus today, but I really like this piece of equipment. But if you don't have access to this, just do a lying leg curl. If you wanna do a single leg, go for it. But you can do both legs at the same time, save yourself a little bit of time. Get one more warm up and then we'll get rolling. Whew. So, first and foremost, when it comes to reducing stress, if you notice kind of the same thing that I said at the beginning, that there's a movement pattern that starts to bug you as you get leaner, don't just keep doing it just because it's supposed to be the best option. If it hurts, it's not going to be a great option. It's probably not going to get better as you can continue to get leaner. So pay attention to things like that. If things hurt, you don't want to hurt throughout your whole prep. So try and find alternates that don't hurt, that you can continue to progress even when you're in a deficit. So first and foremost, get rid of the stuff that causes you problems. Another really good way to make sure that you're limiting how much stress you're putting on your body is making sure that you're not trying to fully focus on weight. Something we've touched on a million times, and definitely deeper in off season is when people want to try to push themselves too hard weight-wise. But you'll see it in prep too, because people are equating weight to progress. Relying more on strong, smooth contractions and feeling that muscle work will stop you from going too crazy. Because if I go put another 20 pounds on this machine, I could probably move it, but I'm probably not gonna get the same kind of contraction. Focus on the quality of the rep, not just moving things. That can help bring some stimulus down as well, not put so much stress and pain on joints or the muscle or whatever it is that you're having issues with. We'll wipe this down and then we'll head on over to the leg extensions. So the next thing you can do to reduce stress, don't put your compound movements first. You've seen me already do a standing leg curl. Now I'm going into a leg extension. This is nothing new. This is something I've been doing for a long time. But an easy way to reduce the stress is have these movements first. It's gonna warm up my joints, it's gonna warm up the muscle, and it's gonna reduce how much I have to use on those heavier compounds like my squats, leg presses, and so on. Putting these things first and foremost, you get a nasty pump. I get a better connection when I go to do everything else. So if I can feel that muscle work better, it touches on that subject that I talked about earlier of work on stimulating strong quality reps. So if I can feel my quads really good coming off of this, when we go to the next movement, I'm gonna be able to feel them even better as I go to do that. Another great way to kind of bring that stress down is just make sure your heavier stuff is not as prioritized. Stuff like this first should help out every time. Fuck. Oh. Oh. Another way to reduce some of that stress is go with higher rep stuff. So like the heaviest I'm gonna go today is like 8, 10, 12 probably. I'm not gonna try to push heavy, crazy weights when I'm in prep. When food's low, recovery capacity is not as high. I'm typically gonna lean towards 12 plus, 15 plus reps on stuff. So that was 12 to 15 on this, 12 to 15 standing leg curl. So going with a little bit higher reps, getting that strong contraction can lead to reducing how much stress you're putting on the system in the first place. Okay, so this next one kind of touches on that same concept of moving your heavier compounds to later in the session. When you guys have watched this workout in the past, typically the third movement was gonna be my heavy compound, which was the pendulum leg press. Some recent stuff I've had going on, I started to switch some things because I wanted to reduce how much I was using over there on that leg press. I've removed bilateral squats, like a hack squat, because of issues I was having with my adductor. A split squat like this has been a great movement pattern to still get that positioning, still get that kind of move without the excessive need for as much weight. Plus it helps me build better stability in my hip, which is kind of the cause of the issue I have with bilateral squats to begin with. Before, I had the pendulum leg press and then these Bulgarians. I just flipped it, put the Bulgarians before the heavier leg press. This again, just does what I said earlier of reducing how much weight I need when I go over to that leg press so that I can still get good stimulus without having to use quite a significant amount of weight. So Bulgarian split squats first, brutalize myself with these, and then we'll go hit the heavy compound movement after. Rest between sides, then we'll hit the other one. This isn't my normal setup for the Bulgarians. Usually I just use the other bench that y'all have seen me do before, but it's taken and I don't want to wait. So the only reason there's a plate in front of me is so I can get depth. If my front foot's just on the floor, this step up isn't quite tall enough for me to get a good stretch to the bottom. So I just added that plate there so I had enough drop down to the bottom so I could stretch that back leg. Nothing special about the plate there. It's not anything different. It's just a different way to set things up so that I can get the full range of motion that I'm looking for with this movement pattern. If I was to do the split squat, or when I go down, my knee stays behind my foot and my shin stays vertical, I'm gonna get a lot more glute. Where I'm setting up, I'm more here and my knee is able to go forward. So I'm gonna get more quad as well. The quad's gonna work regardless. What I'm really focused on driving from is my glute. I'm trying to squeeze that glute on the side because I really wanna develop that area where the glute ties into the hamstring. So I wanna see that start to develop. So what that split squat position mimics is my side shots here, right? Where I'm doing a side chest. So now while I'm doing that, I can get the same kind of sensation with a split squat that I do when I'm posing to get my glute to fire and show properly on stage. Setting these things up to not only build the muscle you want to build, but also help you present it better is how I kind of look at how I choose the way I'm going to set up my variations. Those never get easier. Another way to mitigate stress, look at your stronger body parts and remove some volume from it. If it is already a strong body part, more than likely, you don't need that much volume as your food and recovery capacity is coming down. In my case, quads are a strong suit for me. My hamstrings and my back are not. While my recovery capacity is down, I don't want my body to have to worry about rebuilding my quad. My heaviest compound movement, the pendulum leg press, I pulled some volume. I was doing 2 sets for a long time. I've been using this piece for a very long time. I was doing 2 sets. When I started having some stuff pop up, first place I went to was this, and I pulled a set. I only have 1 set here to do. The way I do the set, I take it far enough to where that 1 set is all that I need. And then I'm ready to go. It's enough to get a stimulus to make sure that I maintain tissue, drive some energy output, which will help us with fat loss, but I'm not going to build bigger quads right now. I don't have enough food in my system to build bigger legs. It is about pulling body fat off at this point, not building tissue. So there's no point having me use as much volume as I was in the off season for a strong muscle group like my quads, where I could be using that recovery on other muscle groups that aren't quite as strong. When I had the pendulum leg press in as my 3rd movement, now it's 4th. In order for me to fail in that 12 to 15 range, I was using 5 plates. Now, with it being 4th, after curls, extensions, and the Bulgarian, I only need 4 plates to have me fail in that same rep range. So there is a perfect example of still hitting failure, but using less load, which equates to less stress overall. Ooh, everything went black. Fuck. Okay, done. This is a personal one for me as far as reducing stress, but I know there's a lot of people out there like me. The conventional thing that you're gonna see with a lot of bodybuilders, for me personally, if I put adductor work at the beginning, and then I go try to squat or leg press or do any heavy compounds that requires me to use that adductor, I'm gonna end up straining my adductor. I already have problems, especially the reason I pulled the bilateral squats out like I talked about previously was because of adductor issues. When I really start to push those strains start to pop up more often, then I have setbacks with training. So if I put this direct work in at the beginning of the session, like you'll see a lot of people do, it just bleeds into worse issues. My recovery shit, I'm not able to do the same sessions that I'm usually able to, and that jacks stress up. I still need adductor work because my sweep, this part here on my quad, is so much bigger than the inside. So I need the inside of my thigh to match the outside of my thigh. So I'd still need direct adductor work. But put it at the end of my session, where I've already done a bunch of stuff over there that stimulated it, put it here at the end. So again, I don't have to use as much weight, and I can just squeeze the shit out of it and move on and be done. Just because you see your favorite bodybuilder or favorite coach or whoever programming adductor work to start doesn't mean that it works for everybody. Find what works best for you, find how your body responds, and then move your exercises accordingly to make sure that you're still able to hit those movements and hit your sessions every single time you set foot in the gym without pain. Nobody wants to train with pain. We want to feel good while we train. I want to feel workout pain, but I don't want my knees to hurt. I don't want strains to happen. I don't want injuries. Like, that shit sucks. Nobody wants that. If you know something bugs you, either don't do it or find a better place in your session to put it. So, you've seen the leg day before, some minor variations, but today wasn't about showing you the workout. It's about showing you how we can regulate stress so that we can continue to perform at our highest when we are at our weakest with the least amount of food and the least recovery capacity. It's all a matter of making things work for you, not blunt force trauma to force things to happen to your body. You have to be willing to work with your body, or else it's going to tell you to go fuck yourself. There is no forcing your body to do anything it doesn't want to do. I guarantee it is way fucking smarter than you are. Learn to regulate your stress via your training, your food, cardio, sleep, recovery. Learn to regulate it by that, and I guarantee that your preps are gonna go a lot more smooth. Or even if you're not prepping, you just wanna get lean for summer, you're trying to push the envelope a little bit, and you're running into barriers, you're running into a point where it's not sustainable for you to eat the way you are or train the way you are and still continue to get progress. There are other ways to still get progress without having to absolutely destroy yourself for an extended period of time, which is where everybody starts to run into these issues of wrecking their thyroid, wrecking their hypothalamus, wrecking all of these endocrine systems that build and make hormones. Like, that's why you see so many people come out of like really hard cuts with crashed testosterone, crashed thyroids, crashed pituitary gland, like all of these things, crushed adrenal glands, because they're trying to force their body into doing something that it doesn't want to do, instead of learning to push it to a certain point, pull back a little, push it further, pull back a little, push further. You have to make sure that you are setting everything up in a manner so that you are able to do that and manipulate yourself into the best position possible. As always, guys, I appreciate you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.